Because trees have been around for millions of years, insects like beetles and moths literally look like sticks and leaves in order to blend themselves from predators. How long do you think it will take for insects to look like man-made objects? And what object will it be? Any thoughts? Probably rather subtle, like more grey/black camouflage to blend in with tarmac, concrete, and metals. Edit. You guys can stop bugging telling me about the moths now, thank you. Yeah, everyone is listing things that humans are likely to interact with, but the bug wants to look like something everyone would ignore. I don't know if this counts, but it's already happened. I guess, when you die easily and have frequent generations you can adapt quicker. Which I've just realized is how bacteria and viruses work. Well, more like I knew that and now feel silly for not realizing other things can evolve quicker. I was trying to imagine what would be most helpful for blending, and my first thought was a metallic moth/butterfly to specifically blend into metal/mirrors/glass, but then I thought that's probably not somewhere they'd want to sit extended amounts of time, and also the higher amount of those materials around a lower amount of flutter boys. Then I started thinking, what's an environment with a ton of both bugs and man-made objects together, and my first thought was rural areas and farms. Imagine a stick bug type insect, but camouflaged to look like a nail sticking out of wood, or maybe a moth that instead of looking like bark looks like finished and varnished wood grain. How the fluttering duck would something camouflaged into a mirror. I could see a cigarette bud beetle. When people are around it just stops moving on the ground. Mostly found on beaches and along state highways. Toasty at Home Award, I'm honored and humbled. Disposable floss pick mantis. See, they will begin to look like our vehicles, and then they begin to turn into them and grow while the humans leave Earth, but they gain intelligence matched by ours and take over the world. Then, cue up Cars movie and watch that with the idea. I took it from there, and the Pixar theory. 2070, the VW Beetle has been replaced with actual beetles. Imagine a ducking M&M biting you. I'm imaging it unfolding legs like a pill bug. I don't know how long, but they'd probably choose to look like a cigarette, but or turn yellow and red to blend into a McDonald's cup. The most common trash I come across. All those years of evolution, just for some bum to come along and try to smoke you. Fun answer. I'd like to see some TV remote insects. Practical answer. Human technology and culture evolves orders of magnitude faster than living organisms do. Imitation will never catch up to human technology. Slow evolution is also the reason many animals can't adapt to a rapidly changing world. Edit. People keep telling me about the moths that evolved to blend into polluted cities. Thanks for sharing, but I don't give a duck about speckled wings. I came here for a TV remote insect. Go big or go home. Based on how often my TV remotes seem to disappear, I think this may already be happening. So that's where mimics come from. Decent movie. Didn't age very well, but cool concept. Don't have an answer for you, but I wanted to let you know that's a cool question. I second this sentiment. Don't you know? Many bugs have already adopted the round beauty of the Volkswagen Beetle. Its timeless appearance is sure to be tasteful even after the 4th Ice Age. But sadly, as the 5th Ice Age approaches, it will be beaten out by an even better shape. I can't believe they're making a 5th Ice Age movie. The quality has really gone downhill. Isn't this the whole mimic monster concept of Dungeons and Dragons? Chests lying for too much long time on caves and dungeons, making mimic monsters that used to blend with rocks to start to mimic the chest appearance, mimic coins, bugs, mimic jewelry, insects. If mimics were a thing IRL, they would look like Amazon boxes and sit on porches waiting to eat an unwary porch pirate. When the dildo gets up and walks off after laying eggs in your vagina, a dildo was for whatever. My first thought. Just imagine seeing a purple rig flying around when you're going for a peaceful walk through nature. Life finds a way. Spiders will soon camouflage themselves as iPhones. How can you camouflage as something that goes obsolete every 6 months? I think man-made objects will change faster than the insects evolving. Concrete has been around since at least ancient Rome. I see grasshoppers on it sometimes that blend right in. Not sure if that's on purpose, but anyways I think concrete will still be used for many more years. Shards of hard plastic would probably be ideal for some insects, also thinking jellyfish may take on plastic water bottles. All that to say, evolution doesn't really work this way. Advantageous traits appear randomly and expands out if it is dominant as well. Part of what has made so many lineages of hominids get boiled into one with very mild variability, with the strongest difference being between men and women. Turtles will figure out the plastic bags thing. Jellyfish will become plastic bags. You have it backwards, of course. Insects, like beetles and moths, have been around for millions of years, and trees have evolved to blend themselves in so as not to be taken advantage of as safe harbor. Stick bugs think trees are giant stick bugs. Insects are evolving into a real life prop hunt. Dope. God, I hope they bring that mode back for the new MW. Healthy relationships. Peak evolution. The apex predator of humans in 20,000 years will resemble college loan forgiveness. Siggy butt insects. Man-faced stink bugs look like my uncle / I understood that reference. Moths already do this. During the Industrial Revolution in the UK, the pepper moth had the population change to blend in with the soot from the factories. See here. Ike. There is a moth that lives on birch trees and so evolved to match the color of the bark. Nearby pollution stained all the trees dark and the moths lost their camouflage. In a few decades, they had evolved to be darker and began to blend in again. The peppered moth. I don't know how long, but they'll probably look like trash. Honestly, bits of plastic. Long after we are gone, our plastic bits and pieces will still be floating in the oceans, or washed up on beaches, or scattered in crumbling, decayed cities. The plastic will break down so slowly that it's possible we could see new emerging species or subspecies that begin to resemble certain bits of common plastic. It could maybe even be more of a textural / color / or even scent thing, i.e. a beetle that looks and smells a bit like a piece of a tire, which I think most predators would find unappealing. Millions of years. They are not camouflaged in order to blend in. They are camouflaged because it helped their ancestors. A rock doesn't roll down a hill in order to reach the bottom, after all, and similarly, natural selection happens naturally, i.e. without intention. Camouflaging needn't take long. It can happen in a few generations. I have little speculation about the object that you've prompted me to speculate about. I feel like man-made objects change way too often for any creature to adapt to camouflage to them. Name something man-made that has been around and maintained the same appearance for more than 100 years. Contemplate whether that will be around for the hundreds of thousands / millions of years necessary for that type of evolutionary trait to develop for a critter to be able to camouflage to that. Discount everything that doesn't seem to fit the criteria and you're left with what? Nothing other than the same natural resources that have been around since before the beginning of humanity. Concrete. I think that it'll never completely be like that. I mean, animals around / in populated areas might change in a few dozen million years. But as long as there are adequate habitats, most animals / insects will stay adapted to nature. Actually, insects can and sometimes do evolve much faster. We've already found some insects changing color due to man-made change within years, rather than millions of years. Wikipedia. They'd look like cigarette butts and plastic wrappers. I wonder if they'd eventually evolve loggers? The Coca-Cola fly? Hey, somebody dropped their phone over here / picks up / ow it bit me / falls unconscious and gets swarmed by deadly cell phone snails / Already happened. Look up peppered moth evolution in the early industrial age. Brain-eating insects that look like apple neopods. Humans are forcing animals to evolve faster, so if we don't kill ourselves soon, I would say 500 years to 1000 years. A used condom. No one wants to touch that. Plastic bags lying around. Not really answering your question, but soon all humans will look like their sofas. Spiders will look the walls of my shower. I just had a blast from the past remembering that 90s movie mimic, Mr. Funny Shoes. I would think, if they were to evolve around us, they wouldn't so much as look like man-made objects themselves, but instead blend in with them, like having the texture and color of concrete or pavement or maybe even roof shingles. Something expansive and regionally universal and easy to blend into would be my guess. Granted, I took another Redditor's comment about moths as fuel for my guess, but I'm sure it will happen across other species eventually, as long as we don't die off ourselves lol. Evolution doest work like that, because that may or may not happen, and maybe it will happen in a long time, or in a very short time, who knows, maybe it's already here, and in a very advanced way maybe the bathroom is full of insects. Maybe they will look like candy trash, like small paper. It's definitely not something that we would try to pick. They would be safe. I imagine we'll see more insects that are colors like gray, asphalt, maybe even some kind of blue or translucent to mimic the windows of skyscrapers. As for other trays that might evolve, I think it's pretty hard to say. Single-use plastics, since they are going to be floating around, littered on this planet for a while. Here's a few examples of it having already happened. Peppered moths used to be, well, peppered. These days the majority of them are black in and around London, because in the Industrial Revolution, evolution favored moths that could blend into soot-covered walls in Nebraska, US. Cliff swallows in urban areas will often build their nests or around bridges, and have evolved shorter wings to give them extra agility for dodging cars. And in Montpellier, France, weeds have evolved heavier seeds than members of the same species in the countryside, so they aren't blown away onto pavement as easily and have a better chance to fall in the same dirt the parent plant is growing in. Yeah, at the rate we are going, I don't think we'll be around long enough for that. I don't think humans will be around long enough to necessitate their evolution. Actually, not too long. The lifespan of insects and such, and their birth rates, are drastically faster than things like humans. This, in turn, makes beneficial mutations happen more often. Mutations which, due to success, get passed on to the offspring. For every generation of humans, let's say the average age for a human to have their first offspring is 25, you might have 25 generations of insects, forming an annual season where they spawn. Put simply, insects can adapt and evolve 25 times faster than humans. Humans also tend to have one baby at a time. Insect clutches frequently are larger than 100, and insects are more numerous in many cases to start with. So nature rolls the dice a lot more for an insect species than humans. So 25 times faster is probably lowballing hard. In fact, it already happens with other animals. For example, moths in England used to be in a variety of colors until the Industrial Revolution started, which caused the trees to turn darker because of the smoke. The moths used to be in the color of the trees until the trees changed their color, so the lighter color moths would be easy to spot and eaten by birds. This way only the dark moths survived, and today the population of moths in England and Europe is dark. Same thing was happening with rats and mice as well. In nature, mice and rats were in a variety of colors until they found their way to the cities, where only the gray ones, which blended well with the color of the city, survived. Probably it would be anything garbage like, but I hope we won't have so much garbage for so long in the future. In all likelihood it won't be something as specific as a cigarette, but change like this happens randomly and can take forever to develop and multiply. That's not saying it won't ever happen, but the best chances lie in non-specific colorings that will allow them to live in dark spots under a roof, for example. Basically any place for them to comfortably live. Concrete gets way too hot in the sun. Say they adapt to look exactly like a cigarette, but if you don't look too closely, now your species is screwed. If humans decide to reinvent the cigarette, or perhaps make smoking tobacco illegal in a few hundred years, that won't stop it from happening in the meantime, of course. It's just not an ideal outcome for them long term. Dildo spiders. A million years from now, people will be walking in whatever the future equivalent of a mall is, when a siren will start blaring. Please evacuate Googleplex Mall. An anthropomorph has been spotted, and this will repeat for another hour. Panic ensues. people will rush out of the mall screaming in terror. This is the worst nightmare of the people of the year 1002, 020, and anthropomorph. An insect that looks exactly like a human. It's hard to spot them, but at this point, X-ray vision goggles have been perfected by the military and the differences in their internal organs is the only clear distinction. The problem is, they look exactly like humans. A scream is heard near the Dachmonolds. A decapitated body lays motionless on the floor. Great, they're carnivorous. The people who saw it described it, but they're as generic looking as can be. They evolved to be camouflaged. After all, the suspect fits the description of what the futuristic equivalent of a 20-something futuristic college student looks like, and then some. Future. To make things worse, this is the third incident this month. If things get out of control, this can be a global crisis. And I got tired of writing, sorry, edit, a semicolon somewhere. Fun fact, about 100 years ago a type of moth in the area around Germany/Austria who sat on birch trees for millions of years went darker because the factories in the area made the color tone of the birch trees darker. But now, because of natural selection, the moth looks like normal white birch trees again. This is such an awesome question. It's why I love Reddit sometimes. Wikipedia. What I was looking for. Carl Sagan explaining the Hiki crabs. CVS receipt. Well, they love places that are dirty, so I imagine in maybe 20 years they'll look like brooms, dusters, vacuums, etc. Humans will probably die out before the millions of years necessary for insects to blend themselves to look like man-made objects. That is an awesome thought. Wingnut beetles walking drill bits Lego roach. Snake that looks like a straw. Concrete, most likely. Pigeon seems to already have done this. We will have insects that look like plastic straws and cigarette butts. Dildo shaped insect. I don't see any constants in human items old enough or useful enough they would last the required length of time. A cigarette butt. Screws. It took 3 human generations of industrialization to destroy the planet. Lol, guess what 3 more's gonna do? There's almost no wild species in cities, and if you take a look at it, the most common ones are pigeons, raccoons, rats, dogs, and cats, and a lot of them are grey, black, or brown. New objects are always being invented, so they probably won't. There's that whole white moth vs black moth thing. There was a birch forest that got completely covered in ash due to nearby factories. The white moths evolved to be black to blend in with the man-made ash. About another century of this, and bugs will be looking like plastic bottles. Like trash on the ground. During the height of the Industrial Revolution in London, some species of moth became mostly grey to blend in with the smoke and buildings, so I'd say it shouldn't take too long. Millions of years, that's how long. Birds that live under bridges on highways have developed smaller wings to dodge powering cars vs birds from the forest. I don't think there'll ever be an animal looking like a man-made object, since these things change much over time. Insects previously had millions of years to adapt to their surroundings. Thoughage. We won't last that long. Longer than humanity has left. The type of evolution Op is asking about takes incredibly long periods of time. I can't think of a common human invention which existed in its current form even 200 years ago. Candy wrappers seem like a good option, but those haven't been around that long. Maybe pencils and pens? Ah yes, the elusive white-winged airpod butterfly. As things are going, they might not have enough time to adapt like that. National Geographic. Beautiful question. Unfortunately, brands change too fast for biological organisms to catch up. However, there is a case study of moths that existed around the time of the Industrial Revolution. Dark colored moths survived really well in cities due to the spot coating everything. After cold died out, light colored moths showed up again. Not a very funny response, but at least it's true. Evolution is a slow thing. I doubt any of us will ever see that. If we did, Probably steel rods or STH like this. Anything that is similar to a stick in an urban setting. Provided we even stay around for that long. Cigarette butts. That cannot happen, because the trees let the insects be on it. We don't let them stay on us, so they know that we are not the cover they are looking for. It's already happened. At the height of the Industrial Revolution, moths in London turned from grey to black in a matter of years. The reason was because all the trees had been discolored by soot and were black instead of grey. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.